Hi, I'm Henry Wong from Remax. So you've actually looked at a few properties and you found the one that you really love, and this is the property you're looking at making an offer. So we're here to go through all the different aspects of the offer. The first part, obviously, is the price. Number two is the deposit. Number three, if you're paying cash or it's not subject to finance, obviously there is no finance clause. But if you're borrowing from the bank, more than likely you will have a finance clause. Number four, more than likely as well, you'll be getting a building and pest inspection done. So you get the building and pest, B&P, building and pest. And number five, this depends on the contract. Most likely people won't have this, but there are times where you would have special conditions. I'll go through that with you in more details later. And number six is the settlement. So the settlement, that's just the settlement date. When do you want to take possession of the property? So the first part of the offer is the price. Now this is the first and foremost, most important part of the offer, especially from a seller's point of view. So the good thing is, when you've actually made an offer on the price, is you should have a chat with the agent, or if the seller is selling directly to you, have a chat with them and give them an idea on how did you arrive at the price. So how did you arrive at the price? So this could be a combination of, I guess, what's sold in the past, what's currently up for sale right now in the present, and as a result, you're offering whatever price you're offering. Now, another thing is, what I want to tell you is, you want to get to the point where you can walk away and you said, you know what, I don't want to pay more than X amount of dollars, your walk away price. Because the last thing you want to do is make an offer and then you say, you know what, I'll dig my heels in. If the owner wants $1 million, for example, and you make an offer of $950,000, you know what, no, I want to get it for $950,000. And then another buyer buys it for $980,000, and you know what, I could have paid $990,000. You don't want to arrive there. So you need to let the agent know what your walkaway price is. Look, if you can get it cheaper, then great. But the key is, you don't want to lose a property because you paid too little, knowing that you could actually pay more for the property. At the end of the day, when you're buying a property, you have to be happy with what you buy, but also you as a buyer need to be happy with what you pay for. As long as you have no regrets, it's all good. So the second part of the offer is the deposit. Now the deposit is to pretty much a gesture of goodwill. Sure, you can actually buy a house without a deposit, but you know, say you want to buy a house that's $1 million, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller or Mr. and Mrs. Agent, I don't have any deposit. Very likely your offer will not get accepted. It just shows that, hey, I don't have any money. So deposit is a sign of goodwill. And generally speaking, the more deposit you have, the more confidence a seller has that you really want to buy the property and that you can, I guess, inverted commas, afford the property. So I guess from our point of view is try to have around about 5 to 10% deposit on the contract, to 5 to 10%. If you stay around 5%, that's okay. Now you can go, you know what, if the owner accepts my offer, I can put 5% deposit straight away after signing of the contract. Or you can split the deposit into two parts. You can split it into, you know what, I'll pay $1,000 on signing, and I will pay, let's say, the remainder of the 5% on unconditional. So say, for example, you're buying a house that's $500,000. 5% of it is 25 grand. You can go, I'll pay $1,000 on signing or on acceptance of the contract by the seller, and I'll pay $24,000 on unconditional when my finance has been approved, my building and pest is okay. So we're at the third part of the contract. Now, if your contract of your offer is cash, you don't need to worry about this. If you need to borrow from the bank or if you have a finance clause, this is where we come into play. The finance is generally, look, you can have 7 days, 14 days, 21, but most people fall under the 14 to 21 days. Some people may fall under 30 days. Now, the longer your finance clause is, from a seller's point of view, the less attractive the offer will be. Generally, it's around about 14 to 21 days for your finance to get approval. Now, with the finance, what happens is 2 things. So when you're actually borrowing from a financial institution, number 1, what the banks do is they send a valuer out and they do a valuation on the property. So if you paid too much for the property and the banks value it at too low, they won't lend you any money. Finance falls through, you generally will get your deposit refunded back to you. Number 2 is the banks look at your ability to pay your loan. So they obviously look at your pay slips, how much cash you have in the bank. They also look at your employment history, and more than often, sometimes the bank might even call your employer to make sure you're actually employed. Also, they will also look at any other debts that you have. So the key is just be as honest as possible to your bank, because they would actually have to do a credit search, or credit check. So what the credit check reveals is any financial institution that you owe money to. You actually can't hide that, to be honest. So there you have it. So 7, 14, 21, 30 days. Generally it's 14, 21 days. The shorter your finance period, the more appealing to the seller. The bank will send a valuer out. They may or may not go to the property. They get a valuation of the property to make sure you pay at the market price, and they also assess your ability to repay the loan. Now, say for example, if at the end, if your contract is 21 days from contract date, and at the end of the 21 days, and your bank goes, look, sorry, we need to get some more information from you, or we need some more time to process this loan application, you can extend the finance clause. You say, look, I need an extra 7 days. If that's the case, inform your solicitor to inform the seller solicitor that, hey, I need an extra 7 days, and talk to the agent, or if the seller's selling themselves, talk to the seller directly that, hey, I need extra more time, and give them like a valid reason as to why you need more time. From that point on, the seller could either, hopefully, grant you the extension if you need more time, or they can go, you know what, that's not going to work, they can terminate. So the fourth part of the offer is the building and pest. You should get a building and pest done. If you're making an offer without a building and pest, I guess that's entirely up to you, but generally you should get it done. The only time you probably won't get it done is if you're buying a piece of land. Obviously there's no building there, so why would you spend money on a building and pest? If there's a building there, good idea to get a building and pest done. So the building and pest, now regarding to getting a building and pest inspector, you generally, when they come on site, I generally recommend that you're actually there on site with them, either yourself or your spouse is there, because you'll get a very, very thick report, and the report could be 20, sometimes I've seen ones up to 60 pages long. Doesn't mean there's something majorly wrong with the house, they're just very, very detailed. They will comment on every nook and cranny. If the paintwork, there's a bit of scratches here, if the doorknob doesn't work, they will outline everything pretty much. They generally don't comment on plumbing or electrical stuff. That's completely separate. And with the building and pest, so you want to be on site, either yourself or a family member or someone that you trust to be there on site with the building and pest, so they can explain to you anything that's of concern. Also, another thing is, when you get the report back, always compare things in context. For example, if you're buying a 30-year-old home, you want to compare the condition of this property that you've bought with other 30-year-old homes. You cannot expect this to be in the same condition as a brand new house, because you won't be. So you got to be a bit reasonable. Generally, when I say when buyers buy, as long as you're happy with the house, obviously the take into context that this is comparable to other houses of this age and this nature. As long as it's structurally sound, you're not living with live termites inside the house, then it's okay. Any other issues that are brought up, obviously you can just bring that up on the building and pest. Now the building and pest, the conditions is generally between 7 and 14 days. 14 days from the contract date. After you get the building and pest report, obviously you notify your solicitor to correspond with the seller solicitor saying that yes, are you happy, or no, I'm not happy. If you're not happy, you have 3 options. So you can say, I'm not happy with the building and pest report. In order for me to be happy with the report, I want the owners to fix whatever issues you want fixed. Or I can say, instead of the owners fixing this, I'm happy with a price reduction. Or if it's really, really bad, like it's structurally unsound, the roof is going to fall, really, really bad, you can say, you know what, I'm dissatisfied, I want to cancel the contract. And you have every right to do so because you have the building and pest condition. Now, when we look at fixing it, so you can say, I've listed all these other items, I would like the owner to fix it. You go back to the negotiating table and the owners can say, you know what, I agree, I will fix all these little items. Or they can say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'm happy to fix this, but I won't fix that. So I guess it's what you agree to. Another thing is with the price reduction. Now with the price reduction, I guess you have to be reasonable. If you get quotes, that'll be great. You can say to the owner, I'm happy with this building and pest, provided we reduce the price by X amount of dollars. The owner can say yes, okay, or they can say no and countersign. So as long as you both have agreement, it would just carry on. So there you have it with the building and pest. So the 5th part of the offer, most likely people don't have this, it's called special conditions. So special conditions is anything apart from the building and pest and apart from the finance. So with regards to special conditions, this could be anything like, you know, I want to buy this house or this unit. However, I need to sell my house first in order to buy. It's called subject to sale. Or it could be, yes, I want to buy this property, but however, I noticed that the owner didn't get a pool safety certificate, so it's subject to the owner getting a pool safety certificate done. So special conditions could be anything that's not finance related, anything or building pest related. It could even be due diligence. It'd be subject to me doing due diligence to check with the council about this approval, that approval. It could even be that. So we have for special conditions. So the last part of the offer is you have settlement. Settlement is when you like to take possession of the property. This could be a fixed date, or it could be 30, 60, 90 days, depending on what a seller wants. Obviously, most sellers want a shorter settlement. 30 days would suffice. Some would be, I need 60 days. In Queensland, every buyer is entitled to a statutory 5 business days cooling off period. This is something that you can actually waive or you can actually keep. It is within your rights as a buyer. Now, if you choose to waive these cooling off periods, I guess that gives the seller more confidence that, hey, I want to buy. If you choose to keep it, that is fine. The thing is, if you choose to keep the cooling off period and you want to use this as a reason to terminate the contract within 5 business days, you have to pay 0.25% of the contract price. To give you an idea what that is, if you sign a contract at $1 million, 0.25% equates to $2,500. So if you decide to get out of the contract and you use this as a reason, the cooling off period, to say, I changed my mind, I decided not to buy, you have to pay the seller $2,500. Now, if you had conditions like finance of building a Pest, or I can't get finance, then you say, you know what, you're not getting out from cooling off period, you're getting out because of the finance condition. Generally, you should get your deposit refunded back. There is no penalty for this. This penalty only occurs if you exercise your right to get out using the cooling off period, and that's 0.25%. And that is also within 5 business days of the contract date. That's in Queensland.